welcome to the Crash Course Cryptozoology podcast. Today we're sitting down with Jeremy and Ryan Sanborn, two people who I've worked closely with on the documentary released about that film, as well as other forms of research. Both of them are from Massachusetts and have a lot of experiences in the region of Massachusetts called Monsterland, mostly for its strange and often anomalous sightings, mostly pertaining to Sasquatch. Of course, them being friends of the program and the show, it's great to have them on today.
Jeremy Sanborn, and this is my brother Ryan Sanborn with us.
Yep, hello.
And I guess this is about us. So,
Yeah?
start off how we both get into cryptozoology was our father had an extensive library of books ranging from, cryptozoology, African exploration to Call of the Wild. And I remember just being big enough to, look on the shelves of the bookcase and coming across, I was pretty much just interested in pictures first because, a dinosaur, a gorilla thing, and then learned about them. And I honestly don't remember a time when I have not known what the Loch Ness Monster or Sasquatch was. It's, been like something we completely grew up with. And through these books, one of them was Reader's Digest, Mysteries of the Unexplained, and
Well, that's the main one, I would say.
yeah, definitely.
I'm younger anyway, so.
Yeah, Ryan's 2 years younger than me. 2 years.
I
2
just
days.
thought they were all real because they were in a book back then,
Yeah,
That's all being real. I don't know. Just dinosaur and a gorilla and.
Exactly. And this is all, we're going off of, the flipper photographs and the Robert Ryan stuff. This was all before, I remember when they said that the surgeon's photo was a fake. I was at Salisbury Beach in Massachusetts here, 1994, I think it was. But, so, and our dad was always wicked into it, and so that's how we started off. And,
Bigfoot started later, though. We really got into it.
Yeah.
Like actual research and stuff. We're trying to do our own thing. You can tell him, Jeremy, about Bill. That's pretty much, we always had an interest in it, but once that guy from the same area as us found evidence and a footprint, smaller footprint.
Yeah, 10.5 inches. But yeah, it was Bill Penning and Ronnie LeBlanc, actually.
Yeah.
Ryan LeBlanc is actually from Leominster.
Yeah, he's on that new show.
Yeah, Expedition Bigfoot.
Right,
and,
right.
We had always heard, Pacific Northwest. We didn't think Bigfoot was in this area at all growing up. Started hearing about Ohio and upstate New York. And so this guy, Bill Penning, and his wife were going to go to do some fishing up in the state forest, Leominster State Forest, and went and he was walking in and he was with his wife and he heard like a growl or a grunt, so it kind of freaked him out. And then they actually couldn't find the fishing spot they were going to, and I remember them saying it was like horribly hot, and they were walking back on the same trail, and all of a sudden they came across 6 human-like footprints, barefoot. And the thing is that there was some deer tracks too. And his theory on this is that the Bigfoot was waiting on the trail, and they walked by it and heard the grunt, and a deer came out, and this thing actually jumped out, chased the deer, grabbed it, jumped back into the woods, because the deer tracks ended abruptly too. And so he, I think it was through his wife that he knew Ronnie, and him and Ronnie went up there and they cast tracks. And finally Bigfoot actually went up there and checked out the spot, but I don't know. There's actually
they went like 20 yards off the parking lot.
Yeah.
And, they, of course, where this is, it's like smooth, like pine needle, softer ground where they went. And she's like, well, people could be barefoot. But where Bill had found it was way up, like, you'd be breaking toes. I don't know. You would leave Bigfoot type tracks if you walked in there barefoot. I mean, you'd have broken toes and everything, all the boulders. And
and hills are just nothing but rock. And so it was raining really hard. That's why they didn't go all the way in. And they interviewed them a little ways off the parking lot. But it was a lot further in. But yeah, finding Bigfoot went there. But anyhow, so it was in the BFRO sightings network. And
yeah, Dad had told us.
Yeah.
We went out there.
So of course, we had to go check it out, explore and stuff. And we didn't go and really put too much into it until we started seeing things. Like Ryan and I also grew up in the woods. Like our dad was an avid hunter. We were always outdoors our whole life. I mean, we grew up on like a type of farm where it was nothing but fields and woods and on a pond. Our other family lived, so we were constantly outdoors. And so started noticing things that I'd never noticed before, like weird teepee like structures, and I'm not huge on like structures because a lot of them that you see are just deadfalls or from snow, stuff like that. But I started seeing some weird ones, like that just didn't fit. Like, how come we're seeing these in these woods, but we've never seen them in woods before? Like something like that. And then we started Go ahead, Ryan.
Well, I was going to say, now I see them all the time and I question them.
Yeah, you have to.
Most of the time when they're deadfall,
Yeah,
some of them. Recently, I've seen some that are leaving my head scratching because there's nothing laying around. It's just they look like they're twisted. They're not just like a snapped little tree. You can tell when something kind of twists something or it just falls over,
Yeah.
Could have to have like a hand, like a thumb to be able to twist it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, then we started coming across what looked like footprints, in the mud and stuff. But there were
quite a few.
Yeah,
we had a bunch of pictures before.
I have a lot of pictures.
Do you still have them? I was going to say, I don't know where they. Yeah,
yes, I do. Got quite a few.
We had quite a few. I mean, at first there was some bear tracks. I would, some of them were obviously double bears, but then you just learn what those look like. And then you kind of can see the difference, Some of them are really surprising how human-like they can look. But you can, Jim, you can go ahead.
A lot of times with double-step bears, you'll be able to see the claw marks from like the rear foot in the middle of the supposed track.
Right.
You can see where, because I've gone and seen bear tracks where, I mean, it looks like a grizzly bear walked through, black, we don't have black bears or anything, but just huge claw marks, and, it's like, that's definitely a bear. And sometimes with the double-step bear, you'll see the little claw, well, not little, but you'll see the claw marks in the middle of the front pad, where the front pad had gone down first, and the second, the rear foot stepped into it, left a imprint, and some claw marks in it. That's how
you'll see the claw marks right in the middle usually. But it's usually you can tell right away. Usually it's not too hard.
Yeah, like some will be off. Like the rear part of the foot will be huge, and the front part won't be.
There's a narrow section too, kind of in bear prints too.
Yeah, and it all depends on terrain and stuff too.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You can tell straight away with a double-step bear. Plus the pads. If you see the pads, a set of pads in the middle of your possible supposed Bigfoot track, well, you can limit it out right there that it's not a Bigfoot track. I mean, I'm talking to myself. I'm dropping my little stuff.
Sasquatch doesn't have pads in the middle of its foot. That we know of.
I think you'd be hard-pressed to find any animal that does, right? So that was kind of the sighting that you guys heard of from the BFRO that propelled you into actually doing boots on the ground type of things.
Oh yeah.
How old were
That
you
was
when
it.
that happened?
I think it was 2010.
2010. Okay,
Yeah, we
so we're looking at
started
roughly
a
11
couple
years ago. Okay.
Same year that I think he found him in 2010.
He
Okay.
did. He found him in summer 2010, and we were
And
out.
we started in
I remember.
winter.
Yeah, it was December.
Fall. It was like fall, and we went out a couple of times with our dad. I think it was like September, October, and then we went out more and more like after that. But we had went out pretty recent after year. We were in the same place. I mean,
Yeah,
same.
I get a picture from December where it shows a possible print with a lighter in it for scale. And like you can see where the big toe and the toes kind of slant off. I can send it to you.
Is that the one in the mud?
Yes.
That was, I think, the first one that we ever possible one we found.
Yeah. That
and
was
the one on my birthday a few years after that we never cast, but it didn't look as good. And then when you look at the picture now, you know where I'm talking about, Jeremy, where the eye shine was and stuff. Remember we found that one up there?
Yeah.
Really good. In person, it just didn't look as good. But then, you know, when you get home and look at the camera and you zoom in, you're like, oh, should have cast that.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, cameras, you know, the way your eyes, you know, see things at the time. And,
right.
Well, I'm blind as a bat now. So back then I had eye problems probably then too. Now every year I need stronger glasses. So
getting old. but yeah, another thing is that sometimes something that doesn't look like much, if you actually go and cast it, you'll go and you know, you'll notice some things like, you know, there's a lot of tracks that me and Ryan should have cast probably, and there was also times we didn't have any plaster Paris though.
Yeah, I remember that the first like couple of times, real times we had gone out, we were always saying, we should have got plaster just in case. And then like a couple of times after we got the plaster, I think that's when we found that one that we cast.
Yeah.
I did all kinds of stuff with that because I had never done it. We'd never cast anything before.
No.
We just, you know, that was the first thing I ever cast. We cast together, and then I was doing, like I said, bear tracks after that. I had a front from
you were teaching people how to do it.
Yeah.
On a Bigfoot expedition actually that we went on.
I didn't know any. I only did it 3 times, but it worked.
Yeah.
I mean,
the first time we used it, we just had it in the backpack, you know, in a plastic bag, and you know, we just kind of winged it, and you know, the mixture, and we got it down pretty good.
It was hard.
We did all right.
That was a muddy, like,
yeah.
It was a wet spot, like in where we got that print, and well, I'll tell the rest when we get into that.
Another thing is,
go ahead, Jeremy.
Oh, like Ryan was saying, you know, like we were in that area, which is huge. It's a huge, you know, greenway. It's giant.
It's a bunch of greenways.
I mean,
like 1,000 acres or something, just that one.
And if you look at a map, you know, you could get literally, if you picked your way, you could get down to like Georgia, just crossing roads and going into more woods and stuff.
Wow.
But like Ryan was saying, we were in there just a couple months after Bill originally went and found, you know, his tracks, and you know, I think that there was definitely a few of them in there at that time, which we'll get into later on when we get to it. But I was thinking, where it brings me to think that they actually go and they might be kind of nomadic and follow, you know, food sources or you know, whatever, because we also went and you know, people go and think, oh, maybe they, you know, take off when, you know, it gets cold in wintertime. But me and Ryan had
we had our snow time experiences.
Yeah.
That was the first, like, really, our first vocal stuff we heard.
First vocal was that. tree knocks.
First
Yeah,
knocks,
yeah.
yeah.
We decided
I remember that day.
it was January, and I think it was around the 24th. I think it might have been 24th because that's our father's birthday,
Yeah.
and he had just taken off and gone to Florida. And me and Ryan decided to go for a hike, and it had just snowed like maybe 5-6 inches, and it was still spitting. Yeah. So you need 4-wheel drive to get up to the area when it's dumping snow, and we get up there and parked in the parking area. There was no other cars or anything, and we get out. There's no tracks. Nothing.
Yeah, no one else had been out there at all.
No,
like cross country skiers, nothing. No tracks at all.
It was this
coyote track. I think.
Yeah, that's the only thing that we saw was we came across a coyote track, and he ended up veering off the trail. But me and Ryan were walking, and we were pretty far in, and we're just kind of chit chatting, and then all of a sudden, we just heard whack whack. Literally, it was so loud, and it stopped us dead.
You can hear more. Winter you can hear more louder.
Yeah, well, it was loud to begin with. I don't care if it was summer.
I remember.
But it stopped us dead in our tracks. We were like, holy crap. And then maybe like 10 seconds later, there's a lot of stone walls up in this area because there was a failed settlement from back in the 1700s at some point, and no one knows why it didn't didn't last. Just they deserted it.
There's a bunch of big cellar holes, like farms, and you can see, there was quite a few. It was a kind of developed area, I guess you could say, for 1700s.
Yeah, it's all filled with trees now. It's all forest again. But so what I'm getting at is we heard two definite rock clacks further away, like down the hill a little ways and further up, and it was like clack, clack.
Did we hear the rocks first, or was it
the wood? It was the tree knocks first, and then the rock
because
clacks.
It's so long ago. I remember the knocks, and I remember the rock clacks, and then I remember the weird ass noise, but I don't remember. Sorry, swearing. I don't remember the
I know
because it's so long ago, and we were doing so much then. I just remember the noises, and I remember where it happened.
Yeah, I remember exactly where it happened.
I know, right in that hole where those two trees bent over and everything.
Mm-hmm.
It was like an exact spot. And every time you walk by there, I still get weird feeling kind of walking by it here sometimes,
Yeah. It was, but I'm a shutterbug to begin with, a photo freak, so I love taking pictures. So I always have a camera on me, especially when I go out in the woods. And so we took some pictures of the area. We went in a little ways, not far, we'll admit that, and looked around. Didn't see anything, but those tree knocks were. Like I said, they stopped us dead in our tracks. We just kind of looked at each other for a little bit.
We had never heard any.
No.
We heard of knocks, but we never heard them before in person.
No,
or any other kind of sounds like that. And then we heard the vocal at the end, too.
Yeah, we're getting there. Well, the tree knocks, some people, they go in to do the tree knocks, and you hear them, and they're like, clonk, clonk, clonk. This was like rapid fire. It was like wham, wham. And I'm trying to try to give an idea of just how loud it was. It was so loud. It was just it was crazy, but it was definitely a wood.
It's always when you're talking or doing something else too.
Yeah, you least expect it.
Attention or looking, all of a sudden you'll hear it. And these ones, you could be singing. You'd be skipping and singing through the woods, and you'd still hear those ones. We heard that day, because those literally stopped us dead, shocked. Huh? We really hear that?
Yeah. We knew what they were. Once we our brains started working again. Ryan said, it was the first time we ever heard them, and it was actually right next to the same trail that Bill got his footprints. Actually. And so we're on our way back. We're heading back down the trail. Still no people. Still nothing. And all of a sudden we hear whoop, whoop, whoop. But
wow,
not as human-y as I just did it. Like there was a weird type of resonance to it.
It had almost like a brassy tone, kind of.
Yeah.
It was like an instrument, like a brass tone, kind of, at the end of it.
It's hard to explain it, but...
Yeah, at the end of each thing. And we went home, I remember that day, we listened to that, like owls, like barred owls and all that stuff. We were trying to listen to see if anything was close. And nothing was exactly what we heard.
There was a corner up ahead of us, and I actually went, and I'm like, there has to be, like, someone coming up the trail to make sounds like that. So I run up, and I'm looking down the corner. There's nobody coming. There's nobody.
And he thought it was the lake. There's like a little, not a lake, but there's like a little...
swampy spot.
A swampy, wet spot that's like at the top of the hill where like there's a runoff, but it collects a bunch of water. So generally we were thinking it was like the ice, ice bubble, and underneath the ice you hear that weird noise.
Air bubbles.
He's even trying to think it was that, like if the ice was broken or, just trying to figure out what it could have been. Could have tried to debunk everything.
Right.
Yeah. And we couldn't figure it out.
Interesting. You've obviously compared a lot of the evidence that you've encountered in your time with, like you mentioned, like the database of animals, calls, animal tracks. As far as other alleged Sasquatch evidence goes, are there any particular pieces of evidence that you've heard or that you've been able to see that kind of match up with what you've experienced?
No,
I honestly...
Not me, no, because I've tried, I've listened to, the Ohio calls. I've never heard a long, drawn-out, super loud Bigfoot howl quote, even the last one we heard this year, hunting. What was that? We'll get into that, but it's every time we hear something, it's never, what you would think, when you look up Bigfoot's howls, even the Sahara sounds or the guy on the boat that broke down, you know what I'm talking about, on the side of the road there in California? And his dogs are all scared and everything. There's all the howling going off. I've never heard anything like that kind of howl. I've always heard almost whoopy kind of...
Yeah, these were I would call them these whoops. These vocalizations that we heard, I would call them whoops, just because that's what the closest they were. But it was, it was a whoop,
a howl.
No, it wasn't a howl. We got back to the car one time in the parking lot.
Remember, after those ones, we heard it again down by the parking lot on the way out.
That was a rather drawn out.
Yeah, that one, it was the same thing because it had that same metal tone, but it was drawn out a little bit more. And it was if I remember, it was a single, kind of like a howl, but it wasn't like a typical howl. It was more like a long drawn out whoop, I guess.
Oh, but it was
metally toned.
It was kind of howly, if you ask me. But
well, yeah, the way everyone's different. I just think it was a drawn out whoop, but could have been a howl. I mean, it's been so long. I mean, the ones we just heard, I remember those clear as day.
Hear you guys.
Some enthusiasm, at least. We were only gone all day. I mean,
so it was July. It was either 2011. I'm starting to think it was 2011.
Might have been. I can't look right now, but I know the video was uploaded. I think it was 2012.
Oh,
can you look it up?
Yeah, while we're talking, I will look that up.
Because I'm pretty sure we did it the same day. I know we did that. That's why I've got to remake another video for it, because it was so rushed. We had just adrenaline, and stuff.
Right. And to clarify, this was the first track that you guys came across that you were like, okay, this could be something?
Yeah, cast worthy.
Okay.
We had the casting material. We had that other one in May, but I can't remember. Remember, what I'm talking about, the clear one in the middle near the snap trees in your eye shine, Jeremy?
Yeah, and
you can see the four-wheeler tracks on the other side, or truck tracks, and then it's right in the middle. There was that one really good one.
Yeah,
I think that was after we cast the print, though.
Yeah, I wonder if I have that picture.
I thought you did. I know you had it.
It might be.
It's just the distance from where he took the picture. You could see it perfect. Like, when we were there, it didn't look. It was good. You could see toes. I mean, all the ones we look at all have toes, but when you're there, you can't like make out a lot of definition. You can if we really like looked at it and like actually, because we were seeing so many different possible tracks that we just kind of just took a bunch of pictures of it, scale picture, like something next to it for scale, and then just kind of went off it. Yeah, that one we cast would have been probably our first castable print, I guess you could say.
Yeah, because also you gotta realize, what the ground is gonna allow you to do. If it's a very shallow print, you could just kind of make out a track. You can't really cast it because it's not gonna be able to.
You won't get like that much depth of it. It'll just kind of be like the ground, and it's a hard ground. It's just like walking like. There's no real soft spots out there besides like where the drainages are, where it's like sandy from like runoff and stuff from the hills.
Yeah. And going down to the lake.
It's all hard back and like rocks and just
granite.
There's not really many places. That's why when we found that one, it was like we said, it was in like a little creek kind of. It was like a stream, swampy area, and it was right on the edge of it. Like we said, remember we were saying like full of water and muddy. We didn't even know if it would work, but when we were casting it, but
July 2012.
Is that what it was?
Yeah,
I told you. But yeah, that was like the best area for first time we could actually attempt to cast something.
Yeah, there were a couple of tracks like
there was some that we couldn't, but
that one in the wintertime. We could have cast.
I never tried winter casting though, so I don't know. With the snow, I mean, I'm sure it would work.
We didn't have the plaster Paris then, but that was a pretty good one too. So I'd say the one we cast was probably like
more, but that one was the best one. I think the one that we got to cast.
Yeah, when we actually went and had plaster Paris, and that was lucky that we came across that because it was a trail, and this trail is actually more used because it's down by the lake, so people go and they do venture in there and go fishing.
And there's a little bridge, kind of like it's a log. I think it's a little log bridge that someone made. Like that's what's weird about it. Also, I'll just get into how the casting.
Well, you're right. There is a little log bridge that someone had.
Why would someone walk in the middle of this swampy, muddy swamp when there's a bridge right there? And when the footprints, when we cast that, we walked around looking around for more, and you could see where it crossed that one time, but then it came back and crossed again through like the middle.
Yeah,
it's the water. It circled back, and we followed it up the trail. You could see where the ground disturbance, like where it was all hard ground, so it wasn't going to leave too many tracks, but all the leaves were all moved around. You could see where something was moving through.
Some grass and they can push down.
Yeah, and we followed it for, I don't know, half a mile after we cast 3/4 of a mile up the trail. And then we just lost track of it. But that was a trail we had never been on either. So we were trying to find another way to cut over, back to the direction we had to go. And we ended up walking with that cast like a football for like 6 hours.
Oh. Yeah, how is it?
We didn't know the air. We didn't know that other side of the forest. We just kind of, all right, we'll just keep going. And it's got to cut over eventually. And
But we were following something, so we were trying to keep going. And I remember holding that thing like I was Tom Brady trying to do a quarterback sneak in the end zone, But I remember we were walking, and on that trail, and it's a big muddy area, as Ryan was saying, and there are two axe-hewn beams that someone had put off, but they're over to the side, and so this is a decent-sized mud hole, and whatever left this print decided that it was going to try to jump across this big honking 12-foot mud hole or something. I don't even know how big it was. It was big, and it's like it just didn't make it, and its toe was like embedded in the banking on the far side.
Really?
Yeah, so it's like it jumped, and it just was trying to clear it and just didn't make it, and so it left this one print, no others, in this mud hole. And
it was a good sized mud hole too.
Yeah, and so
like even the print we have, the back like 1.5 to 2 inches, it slid. You can like kind of see. Yeah.
So after finding that cast, I assume that's kind of one of those experiences that propels you further into doing investigations, and you've mentioned all of these like really interesting encounters that you've had, one of which that we've glossed over a bit so far being eye shine experiences. When was the first time that you encountered what you believe to be Sasquatch eye shine?
Jeremy, you're the photo bug, so you were the one. He always got the eye shine pictures. He was always behind us, you know.
Yeah.
We'd go out in groups sometimes too. So.
Yeah,
well, we went taking pictures. So.
Yeah, getting left behind. That's what happens.
I came back.
You came back, yes. We went out one time. Actually, Ronnie LeBlanc we were talking to him in the parking lot. It was Bill Penning, Ryan, our kid Josh, and me. And we went out just on a little night investigation, and we went down.
That was cool by the lake. What happened? You remember what happened?
The paralleling, or?
Well, before when we were at the lake, the duck.
Oh,
Splash. Something was on the other side of the lake, with a little reservoir.
Something was trying to like kill a duck. We were sitting there, and like we were lights out, just sitting there, seeing if something would happen. And then it sounded like something threw a rock or something at a duck, like trying to kill it or something.
Cannonball on a duck.
Yeah.
So a large rock then, yeah.
Freaking out.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Nuts.
On the way back, because I kind of have I have a bad ear on my right side from a kind of a work accident. Anyhow, so when I'm walking with people, if they're like kicking the leaves and stuff, I have a hard time hearing other things, so I kind of hang back some.
Yeah. And your directions kind of, I don't know, it's weird now after you had that hearing thing. We're always like, oh, I came from this way. You hear it, and then you're like, no, it was over here. Now he's like, it really messed up his hearing. So, but anyways, go ahead.
Yeah. So, I should have sued.
Yeah, you should have. But anyways.
Anyhow, so we're walking, and they're up ahead of me, and I start hearing something off to my back right. Well, actually, hold on. Going back to eye shine, I went and I had a really crappy flashlight that night, and I can't remember the reason why, but I remember it was just the regular like, little store-bought like plastic crappy thing, and it wasn't like LED lights. It was like like a warm kind of light, and I remember I was scanning through the trees, and I saw this, I describe it like as a bike reflector, a big orangey like red thing, and that's what I thought it was, like a reflector on a tree. And so, but I panned back real quick, and it was gone. So, I mean, it wasn't like literally as big as a bike reflector, but that's what popped in my head.
Yeah, I remember we were looking for those reflectors on trees. We were trying to find if there was any kind of something that would shine.
It was like if something had peeked out from behind a tree, and then my light came across it, and then it just went back, but anyhow, so we were heading back, and I'm hearing something, making, like sound like something walking, to our back right. So I'd stop, and it would stop. And so Ryan he comes back, he's like, what are you doing way back here? I'm like, Ryan, you gotta listen to this. I'm like, when I say stop, just stop. And so we started walking, and I'm like, stop. And as soon as we stopped, you heard crunch, crunch. So something was paralleling us off to our back right. And so we kept on going forward, and there was a spot where there was this really strange tree break. Like
that one was cool.
Yeah, like everyone who saw it just looked at it and was like, that looks weird. And so we stopped there, and I was taking some pictures, and
Tell
I
them
didn't
about
know.
the tree. That tree is like, it's twisted. It looked like it was twisted, and it was like, it wasn't on the ground. It was bent like directly in half. A little, sapling. It wasn't touching anything else. It was just bent in half.
Like 5
like,
feet up.
It didn't fall. Yeah, it didn't fall over to the ground. It was just floating there in midair, broke,
Nothing.
But it was like a twist break.
And there was no trees or any branches or anything that could have fallen on it.
Fell around it.
Or
made it twist.
Being in.
But anyways, that's good because the eye shine. That, that was like 5 feet off the ground probably. But anyway, the eye shine that he's gonna probably. I think this is the one he's talking about. It's gonna be behind that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I took these pictures and didn't go and he didn't see the eye shine. What I believe and Ryan believes is eye shine, and a lot of other people. Everyone I've showed it to actually. So we ended up going and whatever it was still, you could still hear it. And at one point I went and I don't know how I got so far behind, but all I could see was flashlights way up ahead of me. And I could hear this thing walking, so I wanted to go and get moving, but I also wanted to take pictures. I'm like, this is what I'm here for, so, take a picture. So I just went and, rapid shutter just around me, and then got going, and then Ryan came back down the trail, and, we headed out. And then reviewing those pictures, when we were at that sapling taking pictures, there was 3 possible sets.
One was like peeking. It looked like one eye it was out, and then like the one next to it was you could see both eyes.
Yeah.
There was a few pictures there right in a row. And I don't know if you moved or what, but you can see where one of them's like behind. You can see one eye sticking out behind a tree. But you can see them. They're all they're different. They're kind of on the same height, though, aren't they?
Kind of. One of them.
I haven't seen the picture for a while, but
one of them is taller than the other ones, but that's the one where it's kind of obscured, and then
closer.
And then I don't know. They look to be the same distance based on the action.
Think about it. The ridge, and it's flat, kind of drops down.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know. Maybe those ones were further back. There was definitely 2 or 3 sets of eyes.
I got 3. There's 2 that you can see plainly, and then there's the one that is kind of like one eye.
Yeah, that's the bigger. Yeah, it's like
it's bigger. That one's like, bigger.
Yeah. All right.
So what were you gonna say, Craig?
I actually just lost connection for a second there, but I heard everything luckily because I connected really quickly back. So that was your first experience. Yeah, that was, I think, the connection dropping off. So that was the first experience that you guys had seeing some kind of anomalous eye shine.
Yeah.
How many times has that occurred in that area since then?
For me, it happened.
Yeah, Jeremy goes out there a lot. I don't go out there as much as back then. I'm further away now than he is.
Right.
As far as Ryan, both of us going like, I don't remember seeing eye shine really.
Yeah, no, not
again.
Really. Not like that. I mean,
no, until
you didn't see it until afterwards, anyways. Like,
we didn't notice it at the time. I'm pretty darn sure I saw eye shine the other night.
You want to talk about that experience?
You want me to talk about that now, or do you?
Sure. I don't mind at all.
Well, we should do the, do you want to just go in order? Then, like, we could do, like, the Labor Day trip that we did. That was cool.
That works just fine, too, actually, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much after that, we'll just go on, like, a timeline, like that Labor Day trip we went there. And then we could do, like, our hunting this year. And you have a bunch of stuff in between that you could talk about. And then, your crazy encounter. And then afterwards, I'll finish up my weird dog man thing, or we'll just do that order. Go
cool
ahead.
Yeah,
we still got Champ too.
That's right.
I know.
We can do that one last. Yeah,
this is like 3. We're gonna be on here for hours, so if we go over it all. So
All right. Well,
Right.
we had that Labor Day trip. Ryan.
He wasn't even going to go, really.
Yeah. I was too busy playing a new guitar that I had just gotten. And so I was actually going to go and veto this trip and just stay home. But Ryan talked me into it, and we ended up going and met some cool people. It's funny when you get out in the woods and stuff, and you wake up in the morning and there's people sleeping in their cars because they heard something outside their tent, stuff like that.
Yeah, we didn't even have a tent or anything.
No,
I
me and Ryan
went into this completely unprepared.
Yeah, me and Ryan
camping, and
we just grabbed a tarp and
made a little like lean-to type thing off a stone wall.
A primitive shelter, and
everyone's like, "Where's your tent?" Yeah, we got cars and everything.
Dude, once we got done with that shelter, though, people were in awe of it.
Awesome. Except the spiders, but
yeah. So anyhow, I'll take snakes, this, that, but spiders I'm not too keen on.
Yeah, they were pretty big too. I don't know what they were, but
yeah. And
that weekend, the main things would be like me, you, and Chris. Remember, it was a log. We were sitting, and then when we walked on that trail, I think would be like the main thing. Plus, we had gotten there. There was how many other people would you say, Jeremy? Like 7, counting the kids and everything that came with, Yeah. And I heard that gibberish kind of. You know how they say like samurai chatter? Well, I don't know where you were, but this is when her kids were like flipping out, and I swear I heard it was like me and I think Dax were way up, and we heard it on that. We know where the campground is, Jeremy. That if you're looking out to where we had our shelter, where the swamp is, that far left trail that went out.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I heard it. I don't know what it was. There was so much commotion going on, but me and him both thought we heard a weird type of communication, but that wasn't even the best thing that happened. When Jeremy and Chris walked up the other trail, after everything had calmed down, everyone else was back in camp.
Yeah, and but these weren't like kids. These are like 20-year-olds.
Yeah,
17-year-olds.
One of them was running around with like a big knife, like opened and acting like he was like 15. You know what I mean? It was just a different scene than But we were there to actually do stuff, and they were just there to kind of have fun, and hang out.
Right. So what had happened on this trip exactly then?
Well, I'll tell about the log part, Ryan, and you can go on and tell us about the trail.
All right.
Me, Ryan, and this other kid who was serious about this, we were sitting on a log. We actually had a DVR, digital video recorder.
We did have recording.
Digital recorder. And I don't know what happened to it, but we're sitting on this log, and this Chris kid just does a whistle, like... And a few seconds later, it was mimicked perfectly.
Like exact same whistle, same pitch, and it was everything. I ran. I don't care. I ran away.
Yeah, Chris and Ryan ran and left me
because it was just like perfect. Like it was exactly the same whistle.
Yeah.
So it like freaked us out. Like
it wasn't a bird whistle. It sounded like
no, it was like 3 in the morning. 1 in the morning. Bird.
So that happened.
We had it on recording too, and
I don't know what happened to it.
What happened to that little recorder, but
Ryan, go ahead and tell us
the trail. Yeah. Well, this happened before the whistle. It was everyone else was at camp, settling down, just sitting around the fire, and we walked up. I don't know, maybe a mile. I don't know. How far do you think we went, Jeremy?
Good mile, easy.
Yeah, I know we couldn't hear them anymore or see the fire or anything from them.
Not even close.
And, it was kind of a ravine area, going up. We were going up kind of a hill. anyways, it got real narrow, the trail. Like, it was wide, normal. You know, you could drive a 4-wheeler down it before. And then, you know, it got real skinny as you kept going up it. And eventually it was just shoulder, pretty much. Your shoulders were hitting branches. It got real confined. And,
real thick little pine
trees. Pine trees. Those short ones that are real thick. And the kid, Chris, he had a like, cheap one monocular, a night vision monocular there. And it was like a toy, pretty much, I think. If I remember right, I think it was like a toy thing.
No, Dax had it.
Yeah, Dax had. Okay, yeah. Well, anyways, he had it wasn't good. It was good for back then. I mean, but you're looking and he said he saw something run across the trail real fast in front of us. We were hearing noises like leaves and crack and stuff moving around, but you're not going to jump right to Bigfoot or something, you know, like something like that. So, but this, he said he saw something big run up right across the trail in front of him, and at the same time from the I think it would have been my left side.
Yep.
We were hearing something coming up the bank, and on the side there was like it went down into like a ravine, and you could hear something sound like a person walking, you know, bipedal walking up the hill, heavy footsteps coming up towards us. I mean, I don't really remember what happened too much after, but I know.
You don't remember the branch?
No, what happened? Was that the one that got thrown at us?
Yeah, it went right over our heads.
Yes. Well, that's what I'm saying. There's so much that's happened. I lose track of like the exact times and I know the main things, but yeah, actually, yeah. Now that you mention it, but that was a cool weekend. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, fair to say.
It was like we didn't know any of these people either. We just all met up from. I forgot to bring that up. We made that group, New England Bigfoot Org,
which is actually still up and running.
It's still running, yeah.
Yeah.
On Facebook and stuff, but we made that, and then like people would come and tell us stuff, like because there wasn't any New England Bigfoot or anything really Massachusetts Bigfoot even then on any online or groups and stuff. So we just made it, you know, a little Facebook thing, and we ended up meeting some cool people that, you know, did the same things that we did. So we met up with them and went out for like a Labor Day. I think it was Labor Day or weekend.
Yeah, it was Labor Day.
And we went out and just went camping.
Yeah, but fair to say, when we heard that thing coming up the little side there towards us, we kind of
freaked us out.
Yeah, because it was such a confined like area, you know, perfect for ambush, you know, from the sides. We ended up retreating.
Yeah, that was that's what's weird about it too. You get that feeling. I only get that weird feeling sometimes.
Yeah, I know the feeling you're talking about. It's like when you're
uneasy, kind of.
You're in a part of town that you shouldn't be, kind of feeling, you know, or like I don't know how to explain it either, but it's like it's a sixth sense
that you get.
And obviously, you guys have had. Oh, sorry. Go on.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to help lead into the next event that you guys have been there for in the Bigfoot side of things.
Okay. And that would be. Debbie, you want me to tell mine, Jeremy, about the? I don't think mine would really be Bigfoot.
Oh, I just
our hunting. Go into our hunting. That was crazy.
Yeah. Well.
Hold on. Good stuff in between. Then you can talk about your stuff now. From then till like our hunting this year.
Yeah, as you know, Ryan, Leominster State Forest like totally died down. Like there was nothing coming out of there, no evidence, nothing for like a good 6-7 years. It was, you know, it's like, you know, it's kind of like we knew they moved on.
And is that what makes you think they're nomadic?
Yeah, I even the feelings, like you wouldn't get the same feeling.
No. I'd be up there, you know, just doing things, you know, practicing my little survival stuff and, you know, just messing around, hiking, not really messing around, but hiking, and never had a strange feeling or, encountered any like real evidence of anything, you know, until recently. But this fall, me and Ryan were hunting up in his area of the woods. We were bow hunting for deer, and really remote locale. I mean, you can't just drive a car up in there like a regular car. You need something with a little ground clearance, like an SUV, and to get up in there. And it's a huge area, and we've been up there a few times, and I had trail cameras up in there, and tons of deer, huge deer source for anything up in there that is a carnivore, omnivore, whatever. And Ryan was positioned in one spot where there's this big down tree kind of out more towards a clearing.
Right.
And I was kind of set back on a little ridge in a valley overlooking it. And sitting there, there for a while. And then I decided to get up and, walk down this little valley and go up the other side. And as I get up to the other side, back from where I was like sitting in between me and Ryan, came this strange, screamish whooping. I couldn't do that vocalization.
I thought it was him. Like, I thought he was just doing whatever. I remember I gotten up and I was looking over. There was like a big tree root ball that I was like hunting on the other side of it. I'm looking over it like that direction. Like I did, like I said, like 2-3 whoops and nothing. So I picked out my stuff real quick and I'm like starting to go over.
You knew I couldn't do that sound.
Oh no, I know, no, there's no way. But I was just trying to think in my head, like what. Anyway, so I remember I'm going and something crashed. I was hearing stuff that morning anyways, like just movement and snapping and stuff. And anyways, but I heard something loud breaking through the trees. It could have been a deer, could have been, a big buck or something running through the woods. But I don't know. I think it was whatever that made that noise. But I ended up getting nervous. And I actually pulled out my sidearm because I was calling for him and I didn't see where he was. And this noise, owl call, whatever it was eerie enough where I was like, all right. And then the crashing and stuff, I'm pulling out my, my licensed protection. And I went and I'm walking and I see him and I'm finding him. I'm like, oh, good. And I don't even know if he noticed I had my gun now. Yeah. But it was, the noise was, I don't even know what to compare it to. We both said the same thing on that part, but there's more to it too.
Yeah, my immediate thought when I heard it was like, oh man.
Scared me enough. I pulled out my gun because I was like, what the hell was that? And he wasn't answering. He's like, all right.
I was wishing I had a gun.
I know, right?
Wow. So obviously you've had some experiences that were what would you say, a little bit more anxiety inducing than ones that you were used to at that point.
Yeah, but that was really close, and
it was like there was like 100 yards. I'm saying like you were only 100 yards, 120.
But
it was in between us. It was close. It was loud.
And as Ryan is saying, me and him, like, just to communicate each other so we knew where we were. Like, if I was coming up on him, I'd go and just do a whoop, so he'd hear me and know it's me.
Right.
And, like he said, he thought about it for a minute and stuff, and he told me afterwards, he said, but then I knew there was no way you could do that sound. And, like, I got my bow and stuff, and I'm like, oh, man, what the heck was that? I started heading back towards Ryan. And, he's walking finally towards me and he's got his gun out because, that call, that whatever the heck that was in my direction.
Oh, it was right, like from where I was sitting, because I'm facing away the way he's looking. Like I'm facing the same way kind of he was, I think. So I went and I turned like I said, I was on a stump, like a blowdown, big tree root ball. And, it got me enough where it was close enough and loud enough where it freaked me out. So it was definitely a weird noise.
Yeah.
Call.
So we figured after we went, we decided to sit together after that for a little while, and we decided there's not going to be anything around with whatever that is. But we're packing up, and then all of a sudden, further away in the distance, it just went and it screamed again.
But
it was definitely further away then. But
it sounded exactly like a chimp. That's what, and you even said that.
Yeah,
when
like a pissed off chimpanzee.
Wow.
Like exactly. Like I thought about it. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Like we both were like that sounded like a chimp, like a chimpanzee type of noise. Obviously there be one, but
I just wonder, like, there's two hunters out there, and this thing decides to cross.
Yeah, it got in between us. Without us, I mean, like I heard stuff, but I didn't think it was, because squirrels are loud when you're hunting. You're just sitting there being quiet, little squirrel on the ground.
Noise is
loud. What was on the camera we left out there?
I still have not gone and been able to determine what that is.
Well, I see. It's hairy.
It looks hairy, yeah.
But I only saw it when we were on the little screen.
And
it's right where I was hunting, but it was the night after we had heard, or the same day we had heard that night. There was I think it was at night, wasn't it, on the camera?
Yes, there's something large moving
but we can't tell what it is because it's close. But I've been telling Jeremy to find the pictures. I want to see it again.
It's actually still in that camera out in the woods right now because I decided to put the cameras out in a different area.
We had that. Oh, we forgot about the knock response immediately that day up on Fern Hill there, or whatever you want to call it.
Oh, yeah.
That was before the last one we were just talking about.
This is when we were out scouting.
Yeah, we were just
in the area.
I was hunting bear.
Yeah, Ryan was hunting bear. I was just scouting.
Yeah,
around. But I did a knock just for the heck of it. We were hearing what sounded like knocks. Now, the thing is that in the fall, acorns like to fall from trees, and they hit the trunks on the way down, and they make a knocking sound.
Loud.
I've seen people on videos on YouTube and stuff thinking that those are Bigfoot knocks when they're really just acorns falling and hitting the tree.
Right.
And so people that I guess aren't used to the woods go and get tricked by the woods pretty easily. And I did have a response. It was like almost instantaneously. It was pretty loud. But
right after. And it was a double. Did you do a single one?
I did a single.
And then I thought it responded twice. A single.
I don't know. I can't.
A double knock or something.
I can't really remember because I remember we were just out there.
Yeah,
I wasn't expecting a response at all.
But that was the day where we were up on the hill at the top there.
And it's in the same area, but farther away.
It's the same area. Yeah. So response would be that.
Out in Monsterland, as it's been called for years. And up in Lemon State Forest, Ronnie LeBlanc wrote a book called Monsterland. And so this is where we went. We have had a lot of experiences in the past. I Shine, the cast, and like I said, the last 6 or 7 years hasn't been anything going on, but this fall we noticed that there would be saplings and sycamore trees all snapped about 12 feet off the ground, and nothing around to go, and no reason for these things to be snapped. I mean, and a pretty distinguished trail, heading into the woods, and there's game trails everywhere. But so it's why are these snapped? And then we came across a possible print one day with our dad, and it's well, maybe there's something going on again, because those trees were just, what would do that? Why would anything do that? What could reach that high?
Right.
and there was quite a few of them too. And I've been going in there, and we've been going in there and setting up trail cams and stuff. Since sometimes just for hunting, but those saplings and like the sycamore trees and stuff that were all broken up, like 12 feet high and stuff.
Yeah. All right.
And so, been setting up game cams, haven't got anything. But the other night, I've done this a couple times. I go in and we'll, stay past dark and staying out past dark and just sitting in, with the lights off, just seeing if I can hear things, stuff like that. And this last trip, I went up there to go and set up the cameras. I set up the first camera pretty far out, and it was just getting dark, so I turned on my headlamp, and as soon as I turned on my headlamp, coyotes went off. And they were down in between me and the lake, down this hill and stuff, and they're coyotes, they're whatever. But when they do start, it does get your heart racing a little tiny bit when you're by yourself. But anyhow, so I go and I'm trying to find a spot to put this second camera, and I'm on the trail, but I'm going off the trail, and it's all mountain laurel stuff. And so that's what I was trying to do. And I went and I actually had a little fire for a little while because it was getting kind of chilly and stuff, and just to kind of take a break. And so I go and I find a place to put this camera, way off trail, and in a little clearing in all the mountain laurel. And I go and I set it up, and then I realized I set the damn thing up upside down. So I go, I fix that, and
I wish I was there for this.
Yeah, it was something. And then I go and I take a few steps and I map it just to make sure I don't lose it, because like I said, it was way off trail. And then I take a few more steps and I'm like, oh, wait a second, I've been here for like probably 20 minutes setting this thing up, Sasquatch is curious. Maybe something was watching me while I was doing this. So I just figured I'd take a look around, and I got my headlamp and I got a flashlight in my hand, and I'm just going over the mountain laurel above it and stuff, looking for eye shine. And over to my back left shoulder, I hear crunch, crunch. Like, with the deer, they got hoofs, so it's like snap, snap. This sounded like someone like me with big boots walking around in the woods. It was like a stomp, stomp, like, crunch, crunch. And, you could tell it was also kind of stepping on some of the mountain laurel, just by how it sounded. And so I turn around, I yell, hey, because I'm thinking someone might be, out here messing with me. And so I'm like, what the hell could that have been? I'm looking around, trying to see what this was, and it sounded like it was right behind me, like, maybe 30 feet away. And I'm looking, and I can't see anything. And I hear more snaps. And so I go, and I'm looking, see nothing. I walk up a little ways, hear a big, snap. I turn, and I'm looking, and as I look back down the trail from where I just came from, in between two trees that make like a V, I see freaking two eyes, orangey kind of, eye shine. That's the only way I can describe it.
So similar to the first set that you saw.
Similar, but a lot farther away. It was like, I'd see one, and then it would like blink, and then it must have been like moving in between something, because I'd see one and then two and then one and two, and I'm looking at it, and I'm trying to go and get my lights coordinated in my camera. All I had was my cell phone. I gotta make sure I start bringing a better camera out with me. And so I'm trying to get them coordinated, and I'm taking pictures, and I got 3 pictures of it, and they're all blurry, but you can see what I'm talking about, kinda. And it disappears. So I'm like, all right, I'm starting. Well, I had gotten going, and something just went, kind of made me look over to my right. I look over to my right, and not like right next to me, but set back in the mountain laurel. And I think that's why I didn't see anything, any like but it was this big freaking gray, I don't know what, went behind these trees. A big tree. You know, I
really with the mountain laurel, you there's like natural corridors that you can walk through with mountain laurel. You know, it's most places there's like little spots, but this whole area is like it's all mountain laurel. Sorry, go ahead.
It's when you try going off trail, it's rough going until you find like a game trail. But so I see this, and it was big and it was gray. It was like a stone gray. It wasn't black or it wasn't brown or anything like that. It was like a stone gray, maybe like 6.5, maybe 7 feet or so. I didn't see anything below it though. I think what it was like I had just caught the glimpse of something as it went behind the trees, like a humanoid type creature or whatever. It would have been like from its butt up its back to the back of its shoulders is what like I'm thinking, you know. That's the only way I can describe it. And as I'm walking, my ride, who was waiting for me at the gate, called me, and I'm like, yeah, if I ever get out of here, I'll see you in a few minutes. And just looking around, I'd see, you know, like when a squirrel jumps off a branch, you see it swaying. I went and I was seeing that, but I wasn't seeing what was causing that to happen. But, you know, I don't know, I think it wanted, whatever it was, wanted me to get the hell out of there. I mean, and I'll admit, I was a little spooked.
Yeah, because when he told me about it, he was all freaked out, kind of. Not really, but, you know.
I was excited.
I haven't heard much. I've only heard bits and pieces of it.
Getting out of there, I just stopped again just to listen. Something was breaking branches off to my my left in this little, in order to get to the gate, you have to go through these where there's power lines, and it's all just thick like bramble and stuff. And now I can't be too sure if that was what I was hearing and I saw on that was following. That could have been another animal, like a deer, or I don't know, something. But I know that what I saw, the big gray, whatever it was not a deer.
But do you remember back before we had cast our print, and she saw a white, did you say a white gray
bear? Yeah.
Bear standing up running or something? But it was the same area.
Law enforcement has also gone and got calls about things running across the highway near this area.
Interesting. And this just happened like a few days ago, right?
This happened Friday night,
right.
I think it was. Yeah, Friday night. And so, yeah, it was I don't know, it was interesting. I mean, I definitely, I know that there is something back in there because of the feeling that I had. I know it. I had that feeling like this isn't like something normal going on. This isn't, a deer walking in the woods or something. This is.
So that brings us obviously up to date for the most part on the Sasquatch related part of what you guys do, which is most of what you guys have done. Brian, you mentioned one of the kind of divergences that your experiences have taken, one of them possibly being into the whole dogman side of things. Can you describe that?
I don't know what else it would have been. I mean, it's so weird what it happened. I had pictures. I don't anymore. I don't know why. But I went, and one of my buddies, he was into like Bigfoot and like just getting into it. So he found these big dog tracks, in the snow behind his house. There's like a river. They were big. Seemed like bigger type of like a wintry dog, like with the big fluffy paws. Like in the middle, they have like tufts of hair. I don't know. They were really big dog tracks. And we followed them. I'm like, all right, let's keep following them and see where they go. I wanted to make sure if it was like a person's dog, like one of his neighbors or something. But these went down towards the river into like the woods. And I followed them. And when there's a bridge, a train bridge in the town, and High Bridge, everyone calls it. And at the base of it, the water, it is high. It's like 50, 60 feet tall bridge. There's no sides on it. It's steep on both sides, like a banking. It's like you couldn't go down there. Like even in summer, like with jeans, like there's tons of glass when kids park. There's metal. There's
A lot of people get hurt up there.
just trash. It's a bad, you wouldn't even want to really walk through there. Anyway, so I'm following these dog tracks. Right underneath the bridge. And it was weird too, because in the dog tracks, a couple of them looked like blood drops. Like, I think it was the last three. Anyways, when the dog prints had gotten to the bridge, there was a black, sooty, dusty, I don't know what it was, looked like soot, bunch of it on the snow, on the top of the snow. And then that was the last dog print. There was a stick laying there too in between it, but and there was no other footprints because it just snowed. It was just that dog. And because I looked all over the place because it freaked me out. Cause I don't know what it was, but anyways, it was this black dust all over the middle, and it was like probably 4 feet maybe in between the dog foot where the last dog foot was, and then it was barefoot human, normal human size. And it was like 3 steps of human, and then it went into the river. But it was in the middle of wintertime, and it was snow. It just snowed. There was no way you'd want to walk down there barefoot. I mean, there's so much trash and metal and everything you can think of.
Plus, it's winter.
It's winter. There's a foot of snow. Yeah. And the dust though is so weird. When I think back on it, the dust. Like, what was the dust? And there wasn't no one walking the dog because there was only dog prints, and it was just a single human couple prints, like 3 or 4 of them, that went into the river.
That is a really strange story.
Yes, it is.
Wow.
It was weird. I'm telling you, the dust. I wish I saved it. It was it almost like a burnt paper, like that black, like an ash when you burn papers. Like some parts are gray, some parts are real black. It was like that real dark black, ashy dirt. I don't know what it was.
Wow.
Skinwalker.
It was in between the last dog print and the first human print. There was only that set of human prints, and they're barefoot. And it's, middle of winter, trash, glass, everything you could possibly think of under there. People don't swim down there.
No, especially not in the middle of winter either. In a river.
I sent pictures of it all, too.
I know.
Yeah.
I got them then.
I sent them to Jeremy, yeah. But it was crazy. I don't know I can't explain it even now. Unless you want a Dogman Skinwalker type thing.
Hey.
Very weird.
Native Americans.
I know,
have legends, and they, just because it might seem unreal to us doesn't mean doesn't happen. We don't know everything, that's for sure, and why disregard their legends and stories.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's like out west, they have the Bigfoot, they have totem poles, you have animals stuff on them, and their depiction of them, and they're close to what their normal animals, what the animals are depicting look like.
Yeah,
some of them have a Bigfoot face on it, and it's what is that supposed to be? But,
right. Well, to kind of start to talk. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, to kind of start to top things off a bit, obviously the things that we've been involved in most recently together was our trip to Lake Champlain. And, we have our interesting accounts there in our documentary, but to kind of give some personal insight, what are both of your favorite experiences in not just us going to Lake Champlain, but even in lake monster dealings in general?
That was my only real time doing it, so that was the best time for me.
Hearing that what we can describe as echolocation tops everything off for me.
Right.
I've never heard anything like that before.
No.
I've been up to Lake Champlain a few times now, and I've dove in it, scuba dived in it. Clarify. So I'm in it. And both Ryan and I have swum in a lot of lakes and rivers, and I've been diving in the ocean, up here in the Atlantic, and even being in Lake Champlain before. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, that was a crazy day up in the lake for sure.
I've never heard anything like that.
For me, that what we heard is that's what does it for me, because I've honestly never had like a clear daytime sighting that I can go and say that was a definite animal, or
Yeah.
I can't go and say that I saw Champ. That was Champ. I can't go and say that. Like, I didn't see enough of stuff to go. And I saw there was a day when I was with somebody and possibly may have seen something. Possibly may have been Champ, but it wasn't enough for me to go and be like, I've seen Champ. But hearing something that I've never heard before in any other lake, and that has been documented before in Lake Champlain, kind of goes. That's what goes in. That's my favorite experience up there.
Yeah, that would definitely be mine too. But the first night, Jeremy he didn't hear the same. It wasn't the same as the second night. The time when Jeremy had heard it all, was the second time. But the night before that, it was slow, and I only heard like 3 of them. But I don't know. Then you guys start talking about all these drumfish and fish bark. So,
well, there's a lot of things that make noises on the water that people don't realize.
It was the same as what we had heard that second night. I kept freaking out to you on the water, like pointing to my ears and stuff, and
I
got a bad kick too.
The second night, I couldn't tell you how many clicks there were, because there was just so many. It could have been in the hundreds for quite a while. It sounded
from the middle too, like the bay. We were in that bay, and it was like
but that's
the bay.
Here's the thing: is that back in 2002 in June, Liz von Muggenfall there with the Discovery Channel on the show Monster Quest. She got echolocation in Button Bay, which is literally right around the bend from where we were.
Yeah, you could see it from where we were. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little north of us, and then across the lake in another small bay called Hunter Bay, and then in what was the other Town Farm Bay.
Right.
Yeah, and I actually met Scott at Town Farm Bay, believe it or not. But it's all bays, and they're all relatively shallow. Town Farm Bay gets a little deep, but the other bays, Button Bays, are actually only like 19 feet. And where we were, Arnold's Bay, I didn't know if you guys wanted to disclose that or not.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Is also a shallow bay. And so what I think these animals do, and also, it was getting dark when this started.
Just getting dark.
Yeah, the human activity, recreational is starting to wind down. Boats are starting to, not crisscross across the lake all day like they do all day. People, are leaving the beaches, stuff like that, recreational areas, and so it makes sense to me that these things are, they are going to use this time to hunt and to feed. And so if they have this ability to echolocate, then why chase, that lake's huge. You guys know how huge it is. So why go and chase stuff around out in this huge lake? Yeah, when you can go, and if you get this ability to echolocate, project, your echolocation into these small bays, kind of corral the fish, and then come in, and that'd be much easier than, hunting out in the wide open water. Yeah. That's my thought on why this echolocation is caught in small bays. The animal echolocation travels far. These animals could be pretty far out in the lake, and
Yeah, but I saw a bunch of fish in there too when we were doing.
Oh yeah.
Swimming around and filming and all that. I saw quite a bit of fish, but that would definitely be the best time I've had for any kind of. Well, even at the Otter, whatever that other one there.
Otter Creek.
Otter Creek, that when we heard all the splashes and everything was crazy too.
Yeah, those were some big splashes.
Now, I meant to ask, do we know if...
I remember you guys were on the other side.
I meant to ask, do we know if there's beaver along Otter Creek? Because someone mentioned that there are sounds that beaver make when they slap their tails against the water that are like super loud.
Beavers will slap their tail if you get too close to, them or their
bank beavers, maybe. Not like the regular bank beavers, like on rivers. They have they don't build like a lodge. They live in the bank.
Yeah,
I up there. I've only I've been up there that one.
When we were up there during the day, though, I didn't see any beaver sign.
No, I didn't either. I've got to admit that, too. There was no felled trees that I could see. We barely found any sign of anything scratching trees, for that matter.
No.
Yeah, and really pick stuff up, and you can see where they, even past time, you can see old trees they've been biting on. I didn't see any of that.
No, and I've never seen it, to be honest with you, and I've gone to that creek a few times.
That's actually interesting.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, and also that I've heard beaver tail smacks before, actually quite a few times.
Yeah, me too.
And sometimes pretty close to me. And I don't know. To me, what we heard was pretty. I think it was louder than that.
Yeah. What we heard was bigger. You could tell because it was just you could hear the water like a beaver slap. It's actually like a slap. Like when you belly flop and you hear that first slap.
Yeah, because it's got a flat, broad tail. Exactly.
Yeah. But these sounded like a boulder getting thrown, and the water coming up afterwards. You could hear.
Yeah.
Water, coming out.
Correct. You were there with us. You heard it too. I mean.
Yeah. No, I've never. The reason I asked is because I'm not that familiar with the sounds that beavers make. I figured you guys would know more about that than I did. Maybe we just hadn't thought about it yet or something. But no, whatever it was, the thing that gets me is that we followed it. Was the weird thing is that you could tell that it was going further and further down the river, and it got to a point where we were at the shoreline on a pretty flat piece of terrain. And still hearing it off to our right, and that to me suggests something that's like in the water, not on the bank slapping its tail against the water. Maybe at first it was something like that, but I mean it moved to a point where it couldn't have been anywhere except for inside the water.
Yeah, it was in the water, especially I'd say the last two times we heard it. I mean, at one point, it sounded like so heavy that it sounded like someone dumped a pallet of bricks into the water.
Right.
And maybe it was
water hitting itself.
Maybe there was a sturgeon jumping around. I don't know.
That was the weird thing is that we never saw ripples either. We never got to see them anyway. I never spotted them in my spotlight, but
no.
I saw the first one. I believe I saw the water out of the, splashing.
Right, you mentioned you could see it splash upwards. Right.
Actual, whatever did it. So I was looking at the baby raccoon while you guys were over in the swamp. And you remember the baby raccoon up in the tree that I kept looking at that night?
Yeah.
You and correct both were actually.
Well, I mean, come on, I'm looking at the baby raccoon. That's what I was doing. And it was right next to me. And it, scared the crap out of me at first because, you don't expect it. But no, I've heard beaver before, and that sounded more substantial than beaver.
Yeah.
I don't know about carp. They jump and stuff when they're scared, but I don't know if they went like that.
Remember I had said that for some reason, I had seen carp before up there, and for some reason we didn't see a single carp jump this year when we were up there. But back in the past, I remember they were jumping everywhere. It was crazy. A couple years ago, maybe I don't know. Maybe they could put their because they're an invasive species, so maybe they put them in check. I don't know.
Interesting. Well, with all these kind of, this plethora and this very colorful gallery of these weird experiences that you guys have had, what's next for you two on the cryptozoology agenda?
Oh, we're gonna keep going.
All right.
But
Well, I think that about wraps up all the questions that I got. Obviously, I want to say thanks a bunch to both of you guys for being on the podcast. You guys were a blast to work with, and you've been a blast to work with, and it was a blast having you on the podcast.
yeah, and it's gonna be a blast in the future, buddy.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, still gonna be squatching.
Yeah, the same things.
I get cameras that I gotta recover.